This is Rugby Roundup. Coming up, highlights of B's match against Rotherham, Ian Smith clears the air at Moseley, and Stourbridge inch closer to safety. Hello and welcome to Brian Dick's Rugby Roundup. I'm joined by Brian Dick in the studio. Hi Brian.
Hi Chrissy.
Well, there was just one match at the weekend. Bees were at home to Rotherham, but it was a disappointing result, wasn't it, Brian?
It was in the end, yeah. They put in a reasonable performance. That's probably not better than that. But they let themselves down again with 2 yellow cards, in which time Rotherham scored 3 tries, won the game, points up the M1 back to Clifton Road.
They did manage to cross the line 3 times, though, didn't they?
Yeah, Rotherham scored 4 in all. That's right. Bees scored 3 themselves. And what I think we've got some footage here. What that demonstrates is that when they've got a broken field in front of them, there's probably no side in the division as creative and as incisive as Bees, because their wingers really are on fire at the moment. We've got Rob Connolly scoring one under the sticks first up, then Anthony Elliott finishing off a fantastic counter-attack. He's playing really well at the moment, and Simon Hunt in the 3rd try for Ed Binham.
Just run us through that 3rd try.
Well, it came from a pretty small acorn. They've got a scrum on very close to their own line, and Bees go backwards at a rapid rate of knots there, which will concern them and give hope to their opponents. What they do though is they move it away really well. Tom Foden comes into the line. Simon Hunt races up on his outside, and he shows what a good player he is, Simon Hunt, here, because he slows down. He waits for support, then he goes through a gap, big handoff. And that support arrived, and Ed Binham's on his shoulder to score a 3rd try. It was a brilliant piece of open field running, and that's really what Bees are good at. If they can do that again against Coventry and then against Moseley on the last day of the season, they're going to be extremely tough to play against.
So how does that leave the table looking now?
Well, the table's not much different to the way it was, except Bees have played one more game. They've got 6 points, a 2-point lead on the relegation place that Moseley are currently in. But they've only got 2 games left, one of which is at Moseley. Moseley have got 3 games left, 2 of which are at home. It's all to play for.
Well, you mentioned Moseley there, and they had a heart-to-heart meeting over this week. Here's what Ian Smith had to say.
We like to find out where we are. We know where we can get to. We showed what we can achieve and how we achieved it. So where are we now? And how do we get back to where we should be? It's simple as that. So it was a very positive meeting. It's good to see what the players think, to work out where their minds are, especially, and then obviously finish with what we're going to achieve and how we're going to achieve it. So, these clear the air meetings that we have probably once or twice a year are always a very positive result.
Well, that was Moseley head coach Ian Smith. Do you think that meeting's going to help them, Brian?
Yeah, as Ian said there, they have these meetings once or twice a year, usually after a disappointing loss. And to be fair to Ian, they do usually have a positive effect. They do usually come back stronger. What he then goes on to mention is the fact that Rotherham are now safe. And we saw when Bristol came to Moseley on the last game of the regular season that motivation and having something to play for or not to play for in this case is a big factor.
Well, they'll have a boost of confidence, won't they, with all their players being fit and well again and a week's break?
Yeah, they will, that's right. This week's break has given them time to have this meeting. And it's also given a few aching bodies and aching minds as well, let it be said, the time to have a reflect and a repose. I fully expect this Moseley team to be different to the ones that have played in their first three matches. Not necessarily in personnel, because although they will have players like Neil Mason and Justin Mensah fit again, but more in terms of their attitude. It really is all to play for. But I think maybe they've boxed up and put away the hangover of the disappointment of being in the relegation playoffs in the first place.
Well, that was Moseley. Now let's finish with Stourbridge. How did they get on at the weekend, Brian?
Well, they won by a point at Newbury. And again, a relegation, 10 points are really. Newbury are down there as well. They've taken a stride, not a massive stride, but a stride towards being safe. Otley are playing well and winning is the problem in that final relegation spot. They play Tyndale this weekend, Stourbridge do. They've got them at home, their final home game of the season. They'll want to put on a show. And their director in rugby, Neil Mitchell, was initially hopeful that a lot of the Tyndale players being farmers, he was hopeful that the lambing season might mean some of them couldn't get away. But unfortunately for Mitch and Stourbridge, they've taken an extra night to come down to Solihull, spend a night in a hotel. So if there are any young lambs born up in the northeast, they'll have to do it without their carers' attention, I'm afraid.
Well, that was a fascinating piece of rugby knowledge there, Brian. Well, we caught up with Neil Mitchell. Here's what he had to say.
As far as I'm concerned, and what I've said to the players and the coaching staff, is it's 6 points between us and staying in National 1. You know, Otley, I think, may well not be the side that go down, so we've got to concentrate on what we do. Obviously, last game of the season is generally more of a showpiece game. You know, it's a game of running rugby where both sides, if there's nothing to lose, you know, perhaps play a little bit more of an expansive game.
Well, that's all for now. We'll be back next week with a roundup of the week's fixtures. Bye for now.